I want you to take the lead here for our second topic as well, which is coming off of Argo, which is based on true events, based on real events, movies in general that are based on real events. Go for it.
I am generally one of those people who doesn't like when I find out that they actually made stuff up. I get a little bit angry, and I think the reason is, okay, you and I had a director in college that was not that made me furious. This person, I'm not going to say names. I'm trying even to stay gender neutral, but this person infuriated me, and actually that doesn't help you because you and I were in a couple shows where the director infuriated me.
Right.
But I remember this
viewers, infuriated is not an unfamiliar country to Phil. It's just not.
Especially college Phil.
It's fair. That's fair.
And actor Phil, I was very angry a lot because I was like I took it way too seriously, and I was just like, I'm giving it my best. What are you people doing? I mean, it's just. Although to be fair, I was like that as a waiter. I once got in trouble for talking back to the manager because I wasn't getting the food on time, and I looked at the manager straight in the face and I was like, well, someone around here needs to care about the food. That did not go well. Also, like, what a jerk I was. But anyways, that's another. I'm not a nice person. So this director basically said that drama is is not like real life because real life is boring. And she basically said your life is boring, and that's why we need, like, theater is important. It cuts out all the boring stuff because if it was just real life, it'd be boring. And I remember being offended by that. I remember being deeply offended because I was like, real life is not boring, and it's really, really hard, and it's really, really fun, and there's crazy highs and lows. And I was like offended by the idea that this person was in charge of any sort of discipline involving the humanities if they thought like that. So anyways, I bring that up because whenever they do this thing where they're like, oh, inspired by true events, I'm like, how about just the true events? They're probably terrifying as they are. Like, why did they need to make Argo, for instance? I loved it. When I found out that the Canadian ambassadors and the Canadian government had tons to do with the actual real life event and that wasn't in the movie, I was like, why not? Why not just actually involve the Canadians, the Canadies? Like, if I was Canadies, I would be. Well, I wouldn't be angry because Canadians don't get angry, but I would be very.
You would be upset about it.
I'd be upset about this, eh? This is not right. Eh? That's about it.
There goes our hopes and dreams of being famous in Canada.
Why? They know we'd make fun of them. Come on.
Have you said your piece? May I chime in?
Of course.
I'm glad that you have said this because and Phil, I cannot stress this enough.
Oh boy.
It pleases me to no end when I get to just vehemently disagree with you. I couldn't disagree more.
I guess I should be surprised, but I'm not.
YouTube disclaimer, Eeyore does not endorse this podcast,
Oh my gosh.
nor does Christopher Robin. Piglet, however, big fan.
God, you're such a lawyer.
I hate you. Here's the deal. Even documentaries have slants. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about Michael Moore or 2016 Obama's America or Triumph of the Will. I'm talking about Hoop Dreams, which is like how I combined those three, put those together.
I just like that you just put Michael Moore, Dinesh D'Souza, and Lenny Riefenstahl in the same category. I'm saying that without sarcasm. I actually really like that you did that. Thank you.
I'm glad. A person who I hope watches this podcast, he never will, watches this podcast so I can tell him how much I hate him to his face, even if I'm not there to do it in person. He asked me who I was voting for, and then before I answered who I was voting for, he said, if you are voting for Obama, you have no brain, and you need to see Obama's America. And I said, have you seen, I was like, I will see that. Have you seen Triumph of the Will? And he didn't get it, which made me just extraordinarily happy.
By the way, like I love people like that who are just like. By the way, I love people who are just like, oh, who are you voting for? And before you answer, if you say this person, you're an idiot. You're like,
right.
Oh,
okay.
So this is going to be so our friendship. This friendship isn't going to be much of anything. Okay.
Well, gosh, you just swung my vote to the person that you hate. Even documentaries like Hoop Dreams, which I think is probably the finest documentary that I have ever seen. There's a slant there, right? And that is quote unquote nonfiction. Okay. I don't care. I want to be moved by the movie that I see, and that can the emotion that comes out can be any emotion. It can I don't care what it is. I want to experience it. It would be nice. It is the mark of a well-made movie when the emotion that I feel is the emotion that the director intends, but it doesn't. And I don't want to get too far down like the epistemological road here, but there's a difference between facts and truth. And I do not go to the movies for facts. I go to the movies for truth, even if it isn't. I mean, I was looking up. I took some notes, viewers, because I knew that this conversation was coming. And you know, you've got your sports movies, which are never real.
Oh yeah.
Remember the Titans, which is one of the most fun football movies I've ever seen. The final game, like all of the games where it's like, oh my God, are they going to win? Is the perfect season? They won every game by like a jillion points. There was no
suspense in the actual game winning.
Right. You know what? I'm happy that like it was the game in the movie was a nail biter. You know, right. and it's not, and that's stuff that I know about. You know,
Hayden Panettiere's best performance ever, maybe. Just throwing that out there.
Fair. I mean, I can't believe she wasn't nominated for "I Love You, Beth Cooper."
I haven't seen Nashville. I haven't seen the new show Nashville yet. Looking forward to watching that. So maybe that'll goose it up a little bit. Sorry.
So, but there's also, you know, there's like Mississippi Burning, which is the story of the FBI investigation into the murder of the 3 civil rights workers in the 60s. Yes. It stars Gene Hackman, Willem Dafoe, Frances McDormand, just
even
a host.
Pavlovsky.
Yes, just a host of amazing actors, and it is just a wonderful movie. And
never seen it. Sitting on my DVR right now.
Oh, I am so excited for you. There was, I forget who it was, but someone, a commentator, said, and I want to use this language because of the topic of the movie, said it was virtually a lynching of the truth. The movie was a lynching of the truth. And that guy can go screw. Because it's not a book report. It's not a history textbook. My understanding of this movie, and I won't talk about any of the plot. My understanding of the movie and of the facts behind this movie are informed by that movie, but it doesn't. But I'm not looking for it to inform the facts in my life. If I am interested in something, I will go and research it myself. Are
you frozen? Are you gone? How many? Oh, seriously? First of all, Andy, you're gone. You were saying something super intense. Really intense. And now, nothing. Again. We're going to get angry soon. I'm going to come back to Andy when he calls me back. So if you're watching this still, continue to watch it. We'll see what happens. I'm going to hang out.
Terribly sorry about that. I was getting very worked up. Long story short, I don't think that it's a problem for movies to stretch the truth, flat out lie, add stuff. Phil, I know you have a particular bone to pick with Aaron Sorkin about this. I'd like to hear more about that.
You know, you got so angry that the computer cut you off.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that it'll do the same when you bring up Aaron Sorkin in front of me. Because I get so, like, I'm just... I feel like the kid in the Emperor's New Clothes running down the street going, people, he's naked. He is naked. Stop pretending it's a gorgeous robe. Oh! Okay, let me just say this. I'm not going to get into Aaron Sorkin too much because there's not enough room. I'm trying...
Yes. Yeah, I don't want to cut you off. I apologize for cutting you off. But I'm going to focus you in because we could probably do it.
I'm doing that. You don't need to do that. I'm focusing myself in. I can do this. I am locked in.
Viewers, you be the judge.
The social network is slander. It is a slanderous piece of film. It is not taking liberties with true events for the sake of a greater truth. It was Aaron Sorkin, I haven't thrown David Fincher under the bus, but maybe I should. It was the people who created that film deciding that they had a story to tell, deciding about what was happening right then in that time, like about making a statement about our culture and saying it's because of this person who's still alive, who's still very much a part of our culture. I mean, it's the instant docudrama. It's the instant like, oh, we're telling a drama about something that's happening right now. Except they just were completely made up details that were not small details, and it's infuriating because one of Sorkin's biggest points in this movie is that we're making this thing that's it's supposed to help us socialize, but instead it isolates us. And so the great point is they take this person who is completely antisocial, who creates this thing so that he can have friends, and because he's trying to get back at a girl, and he's single and miserable throughout the whole film, except that he just married recently a woman that he was with the entire time he was creating Facebook, and he did not create Facebook for any of the reasons that they said. And all of this stuff that they do, it wouldn't bother me if it was like tweaking little things. Like the Argo thing doesn't bother me that much. You know, maybe the Canadians should have gotten more credit, but there's a larger truth to tell, and I get that. Mm-hmm. And the point of the movie wasn't about Canadian and American getting along. That wasn't the point of the movie, so that's fine.
Indeed.
The Social Network is about a person and about a thing that happened, and it's just wildly inaccurate. Wildly inaccurate. Not to mention how smug and clever Aaron Sorkin's writing is, and how disingenuous and false he is as a writer. Putting that aside for a second, it really bothered me because I felt like I don't even care one way or the other about if Zuckerberg's a great guy or not a great guy or whatever. If you want to tell a story that is the truth of our generation and it's happening right now, to literally drag a guy's name through the mud like that and to make him into something that he's just not for the sake of a truth you've decided. I found it's to me, it was like, the more Social Network is a beautifully made film. It is well crafted. The writing is solid. It is snappy. There are great lines in it. Everybody in it's good. I mean, everybody's in it's good. Great acting.
Yes.
It's infuriating to me how false it is.
It's clearly infuriating you, and I'm not going to push the defense of it that far. But I think it's useful to Aaron Sorkin never once, and David Fincher. I mean, Sorkin was asked about this before the movie came out. During the entire process, he was asked about this, and never once was he like, "We're telling the true story of Facebook." Like not once. He went so far as to say, when I have a choice to make between the truth and entertainment, I'm going to choose entertainment.
Yeah.
He went so far as to say,
Because he's a manipulative writer. That's why.
Gotcha. Yep. Focus in.
But he is. This is a man who never went on Facebook. Then you know what? If you want to do that, tell a story about a fake social network. Tell a story. If you want to choose between the truth and entertainment, tell the story. Make it up. You're a creator. Create. Rather than actually taking the real names and real events, and then just being like, just kidding, Fast and Furious.
Okay.
Blah, blah.
Okay. Simmer down. I actually don't think Mark Zuckerberg comes out that bad in the movie. I really don't. I really don't. I do not. He comes off as a guy who's in over his head, which may or may not be true. I don't really care if it's true. I mean, anyone who did any sort of research at any point knows things like, Eduardo got paid. He ended up writing a check, although for a significantly smaller amount, still gargantuan. Mr. Zuckerberg, call me. To the Winklevi, I mean, he did end up paying these people, and even if it was I just can't deal with this, I'm just going to buy them off. I don't care. I don't care. There were things that he changed that I actually find more interesting. For example, Facebook. Zuckerberg was doing like 8 different things. He was like inventing a bunch of different things at once at Harvard, and Facebook was his like screwing around time. He was like, I am going to be a zillionaire, and you know what's going to make me a zillionaire? This thing that I don't remember the name of because no one's ever heard of it. Right. And I mean, it's and I don't disagree that Aaron Sorkin's a manipulative writer, and I don't disagree that David Fincher is. And I really don't think that I'm being too easy on anyone when I say this. I think that the job of art, looked at from a certain way, is to manipulate. All right, there are underhanded ways to do that, and there are not underhanded ways to do that. But when Shakespeare wants you to feel something, you feel it.
I don't agree with you.
Okay.
I totally agree with you. I think the purpose of art is to be honest. I think the purpose of art is to be honest. I think the best acting is honesty, telling the truth. I think you're supposed to tell the truth as best you can. And really what you hope is, no, I'm sorry. That's what I think. Because I think that you can't, we have an idea that something will make people laugh, and that it's generally going to make people this way or that way. But when you start to try to orchestrate emotions, rather than just be like, I want to tell a good story, and it's going to get people this way and this way. But like, if you're just telling the truth, then those things will happen, in my opinion. But when you like say, I'm going to make people cry right here. What do I need to do to really make sure they cry? Oh, I've got it. The kid will have leukemia. It's
right.
Like
I don't want to get too far down the semantic hole here. I am not in favor of being manipulative. Clearly, you realize that I mean that.
No. I know personally you're not. Sure.
But in 99.9% of movies, I agree with you. But you can't tell me that Mel Brooks is looking for the truth in a moment when Mongo punches out a horse.
I don't.
Unless you are defining truth actually pretty closely to the way I'm defining truth.
I think there's a difference. I don't think that we should ever be trying to manipulate people's feelings. And I guess what I would ask you to illustrate this is, you mentioned earlier pejoratively both Michael Moore and the makers of the Obama 2012 video. Why are they different than Aaron Sorkin?
Because they're presenting their things as fact. Because they're presenting the things as fact.
When you make a movie, I think when you make a movie about Facebook, that is with everybody as the same characters, about an event that actually happened, and present it as that, even though in interviews outside of it, the person says, "Well, I did whatever I wanted to do," it is presented as the story of Facebook.
You're right.
It is.
So let me ask you a question. let me ask you a question. And again, the actual difference in our opinion here, I don't think is all that great. But why has Mark Zuckerberg not pursued legal action? You know, even going further, because who cares about legal action? Lawyer. Who cares about like libel and slander and all of that stuff? Why has he not? He hasn't even like said anything. And it's not a matter of
he used to have The West Wing on his Facebook page. He had The West Wing as one of his favorite TV shows, and after he saw the preview of Social Network, he took it off his list of favorite shows because, you know, he was too close to home.
That's his prerogative, Phil.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So he has reacted. That was his reaction.
Okay.
You're asking me why a multi-billionaire. You're asking me why a multi-billionaire, a kid who's 4 years younger than us, hasn't sued some crackhead actor. I don't know. Or a writer, I should say. I don't know. I really don't know.
You say multi-billionaire as if that's the reason he wouldn't do something, and I look at it like, well, he certainly has the resources to hire people to do this, and he doesn't have to like pay attention to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not talking about like, I'm not getting into if he's a good person or not or what his reasons are. I'm talking about I'm really talking about what our responsibility is. Like what is the artist's responsibility? I think about this, and by the way, I want you to know, like, I think about this as a preacher. I really do. I think about this as a preacher. Would I make up a story to get people to think differently about what I'm preaching about? And I'm not. And some people would say yes. Some people would say, yeah, make up a story. I don't think that's okay. I don't think in terms when I'm constructing a sermon, I'm gonna really make people feel this thing. I think when you do that stuff, it's disingenuous.
That's fair. Let me try to explain my viewpoint more clearly. It's not that I like it. Here is the final analysis question for me. For you, if I'm hearing you correctly, the art, it is important to you for the art to have an element of truth.
Yeah.
Is that maybe that's an oversimplification, but is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Well, when you say truth again now, and you said earlier, are you talking about truth or fact? I'm not trying to split hairs at all.
I'm talking about truth, but you can include fact in that.
Okay. Yeah.
The reason I say it that way is because I want to include fiction in it as well.
Good. I don't think the best art is necessarily factual, but I do think the best art the best art is truthful.
Fair. Here's where we differ. What I think is my first question is not, is the art truthful, is the art factual, however you want to define either of those terms. It is the art effective? And if it is effective, and I honestly believe this, if it's effective, it creates its own truth. Obviously, there are problems with this philosophy. This is easier to talk about and joke about when I'm talking about, you know, the train station platform scene in Young Frankenstein, where it's the most awkward goodbye ever. There's truth in that scene, and there couldn't be less fact. You know, I would go further, and I would say that in the Social Network, in the scene where Divya says to Zuckerberg, "I can't wait to stand over your shoulder and watch you write us a check." Mm-hmm. There may be zero fact in that, but because it moved me in a certain way, and I mean that in the basest sense, I wasn't sobbing. You know what I mean when I say it moved me. It produced an emotion in me. There is truth in that moment, and are there people dumb enough to just accept everything they see on a movie screen as truth? Well, I'm sure there are. And I'm not saying you're saying what you're saying to protect the dumb out there. I'm not saying that. But
although sometimes I feel like I verge on that. Sometimes my problem is Sometimes my problem is that I'm like, well, people will think that that's the real truth, which is then I'm just protecting the dumb, and that's stupid. So
Right.
totally fair.
But that's a valid thing to say, even if you're not protecting the dumb. I guess it just it goes back to, and I'm gonna have to stop talking, and feel free to put a bow on this or not, but we can bring this up in other podcasts later. When looked at, for me, when I look at the art as the product, as it relates to the artist,
right?
It's an eternal struggle, right? At what point does the artist release and the art becomes part of the society? To put it in movie geek terms, should George Lucas stop screwing around with his movies?
That's it's one of those things where I don't know where the point is, but I know that George Lucas walked over that point a long
right. That point is nowhere near George Lucas. Zero proximity to Lucas.
He's got binoculars, and he's just looking for them.
Can't see the point. And I think that there is value in taking the art completely separate, even if it says based on actual events. Even if it I think there is value in that.
Okay.
And because I feel that way, the fact that the movie moved me in a certain way makes it a worthwhile and effective movie for me.
Fair enough.
I'm done. I have no more to say on the subject at the moment.
There's three things I want to say. All of them are brief. Are brief.
Okay.
One is I'd like to compliment Social Network for realsies, because there's and I'm going to go further. I'm going to compliment Aaron Sorkin, because there's a line in this film.
Clear.
There is a line in this film. I know. There's a line in the film when he says, if they were the ones who had invented Facebook, they would have invented Facebook. And that's a genuinely fantastic line. And Jesse Eisenberg is brilliant in this movie.
Agreed.
Okay.
Was he nominated?
What's that? Yes,
was he nominated? Okay.
Yes, he was. Second thing I want to say is we didn't get to talk about tonight something I would like to talk about, which is the fact that the movie Fargo says that it's based on true events, and in fact it says this is a true story. The names have been changed to protect the people who have been affected, but the facts are all what they are, basically.
Right.
And it's a completely fabricated film.
Awesome.
I know. And in fact, Roger Ebert, when he wrote a review for it initially, wrote, stories like this are so weird they can only be true. Which is great that it's totally made up. We should talk about that someday because it's great. The other thing I want to say is you said to me when we were leading up to this podcast that if in fact things got a little heated, which they did, and I got a little bit more. I got a little bit more than I thought I would. I've had a lot of sugar today. You said that you had something that would bring us together beautifully to wrap things up, and I'm wondering if you're willing to do that, because I want everyone to know how much we love each other.
I do, and we do, viewers, and this is a story that will tell you not only how much we love each other, but also why we're sitting here making a podcast right now.
Okay.
The year is 2000 and something. I don't know. It's like the Social Network.
My favorite year.
Yeah, it's such a good year. I am living in New York City. Phil has come to visit me, potentially to do other things. I don't actually remember. Not that there was anything else important, because he's visiting me. And we are wandering through a Blockbuster, picking out a movie, because I only have 150 movies to my name at that point. So clearly, 1,000 channels and nothing's on. So we have to go to Blockbuster.
The exact movie we watched.
Yes. P.S. Blockbuster. Remember those?
Remember going to the video store and walking through the video store? What has happened to us?
That is a pleasure that I truly miss. I truly miss it.
We are going to be now I get it. I get why old people talk about stuff that used to be, and they say it. Because walking through video stores, walking through a record store I could spend all day in a record store.
Absolutely. Phil, shut up. I'm trying to bring us back together.
Sorry, go ahead.
Stop being a jerk. I'm trying to bring us back together. And we came upon a movie that we were like, let's rent this.
Yes.
And then I said, no, Phil, let's go see if they have it for purchase. Because I have a feeling that once we start watching this, I'm just going to want to own it.
Yeah.
And viewers, that movie was The Goonies.
Yes, it was. God, I almost got a little goosebumps.
I'm a little verklempt right now. I'm not gonna lie. So we're like 5 minutes, no, more than that, because we really got a sense of the movie. Maybe 15 minutes in, and I had paused the movie, and I turned to Phil, who was sitting next to me on the couch, and I said, Phil,
I remember this perfectly.
Why do they not make movies like this anymore?
No, you said they don't make movies like this anymore.
That's right. That's right. And he said, and I don't think they ever did. You know,
They never made movies like that.
They never did. They never will again. It is lightning in a bottle. If you do not know The Goonies, rent it, buy it. Just buy it, sight unseen. You will love it. If you don't love it, I don't mean this to be patronizing, although there's no other way to take this really. If you have seen The Goonies and you don't love it, I truly feel sorry for you.
I have a friend who has seen The Goonies and doesn't love it, and I can vouch for the fact that he has no soul.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. And it is not as if Phil and I had not talked about movies before we had seen The Goonies together on my futon in Hell's Kitchen.
That's right.
But that was the first time, at least for me, that I was like, I mean, I knew that I could talk to Phil about anything, and forever. Mm-hmm. But this was that was the first time that I was like, we are more simpatico in our not only our tastes in movies, but in the reasons behind our tastes.
Yes.
Yada yada yada. It's a pleasure to bring you Second Breakfast. So Phil, that is my olive branch to you. I know. I'm a little sad. Before we go this evening, I want to tell you all about what we're planning to do in the coming weeks, months, years, and yes, millennia. You may have noticed, well, first off, this is a longer podcast than normal. We're going to try and do one long-form podcast, un petit peu. That will be hopefully around 45 minutes to an hour, hopefully closer to 45. It's going to be released, if everything goes right, on Thursdays. Mm-hmm. That will be released in both YouTube video format and in podcast format as soon as we figure out how the hell to do that. We are, in many ways, 87 years old and cannot figure out technology.
That's right.
Yeah. In addition, on a normal week, on Friday, you will see a mailbag. These are actual emails sent to us from actual viewers. The email address, if you want to get in on this awesome action, all these words this is one word, and all of them are spelled out completely. secondbreakfastpodcast@gmail.com. We have a lot of fun with this mailbag. We love everything we've gotten so far. We can't wait to share it with you. And then there are a number of other things we're doing, sort of shorter 15-minute things, which the mailbags will be about 15 minutes as well. One thing we're doing on Wednesdays, starting next week, we're going to have Filmography Wednesday. We're going to go through an actor from his or her earliest movie, chronologically all the way through the end. We figured, a true man of God, a man of the cloth, an Episcopal priest, and a Jew. Who better to start with than Mel Gibson?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the Mel Gibson. We are going to watch every single movie that Mel Gibson ever acted in. We're not going to watch all his directed movies, although he was in a lot of them. We are going to watch every single movie that Mel Gibson has ever acted in. And because we're the last two people on Earth, I think, that will watch a Mel Gibson movie.
It's true.
Besides Pope Benedict, I'm sure he sits around watching Mel Gibson movies.
Right, and Mel Gibson's dad.
Yes.
Maybe. There are other things. The idea is eventually we will have Monday through Friday content for you every single week. We're very excited about this. We have ideas for Monday and Tuesday, including something called 5-Minute Mondays. I don't really know how long those will be. Phil, any idea?
We'll have to figure that out. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, that's one of the kinks we need to work out. Starting Wednesday, we'll have our first Mel Gibson movie, Summer City.
Never heard of it before.
No. Not
And
sure it
stay
exists, and
tuned
I have
because
the
it's,
Netflix
it's
folder
Mel
sitting on
Gibson's
the
acting debut, and right after that comes Mad Max.
So,
Game on.
thank God. Then next Thursday, we'll have another long form podcast for you. Then next Friday, an up-to-date mailbag. We're very excited. We hope you are too. We're having a ton of fun doing this, and we hope you're having half as much fun as we are when you watch it, because that means we're having more fun than you are.
That's 1,000 pounds of fun.
That's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun. And I'm going to get verklempt again, so I'm going to say this has been Second Breakfast. See you again real soon.
Been real fun, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.